And Marty Gorins from Reno, Nevada, 621,000 in seat 7. Let's give Marty a round of applause in seat 7. And in seat 8, Neil Blumenfield with 701,000 from San Francisco, California. Neil's one of the only ones at the table here who has made an HPT final
from Reno, Nevada, 621,000 in seat 7.
Let's give Marty a round of players. Let's give Neil a round of applause in seat 8. And last but not least, Dave Brewer in seat 9 from Stockton, California with 351,000. Let's give Dave a round of applause in seat 9. All right, guys, we're at 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds. Our button is in the 5 seat. Good luck, everyone. Shuffle up and deal. Check, check. Check. No, it's not even on. Check, check.
It was on when she handed it to me.
A hush falls over the crowd.
All right, we're 5,000, 10,000 here on the blinds with the 1,000, Annie. Neil in the 8 seat's going to be first act. He folds over to Dave in the 9 seat. Action's on Dave. Dave folds as well. Action's on Dave in the 1 seat. Dave folds, Larry folds over to Kevin in the 3 seat. Kevin folds, action's the Duke in the 4 seat. Duke folds as well. Rob folds as well in the 5 seat. George in the 6 seat makes the call option to Marty in the big blind. And Marty's going to raise. 30,000 was a total raise, and George in the 6 seat folds. Marty's going to take down the pot. Go ahead, there you go.
Hey, Marty.
Let's give Marty a round of applause. Yeah. First hand there.
I want to see a flop.
Okay, so you guys, you know I've got stuff going on in my life right now, so I have really one objective for this table, and that's to get 3 sentences out of Larry before I get knocked out.
Yeah, like that's going to happen. 3 words.
Yeah, there's one.
We are 1,000, Annie, 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds. Just over 17 minutes remaining at this level. Dave in the 9 seat's going to be first act. Dave folds over to Dave in the 1 seat.
You can see right here.
Action's over to Duke in the 4 seat. Duke folds. Over to Rob in the 5 seat. Rob raises to 25,000. 25,000 is the raise by Rob. Fold it over to Marty in the small blind. 25,000 is our total bet. Marty folds over to Neil in the 8 seat.
Okay, tight fold. I'll give you this one.
And Neil folds deuce 3 face up. And Rob in the 5 seat's going to take down the pot. Rob's got a cheering section already.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
All right, action's folded around to Kevin in the 3 seat. He folds. Over to Duke in the 4 seat. Duke folds as well. Over to Rob in the 5 seat. Rob's going to raise to 26,000. 26,000 is the raise by Rob. Fold it around to Marty in the 7 seat. 26,000 is our total bet. Marty folds over to Neil in the small blind. 26,000 is our total bet. Neil is going to re-raise. 76,000 is the re-raise by Neil. 76,000. Action's on Dave in the 9th seat. 76,000 is our total bet. And Dave's going to fold. Action's back to Rob in the 5th seat. 76,000 is our total bet. And Rob's going to fold. Neil in the 8th seat's going to take down the pot.
Crowd.
Neil has no fans yet. Anyone cheering for Neil out there? All right, one right up front.
I would if I could, but I can't.
Sure you can.
Our chip denominations today, the yellows are 1,000 chips, the whites are 5K chips, and the orange are the $25,000 chips.
Good hand, Neil.
Thank you.
Good bluff.
It was a real hand. You'll see on TV.
Pocket 8, so they show 8.
1,000 Andy still, 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds. Larry in the 2 seat's going to be first stacked. Larry's going to fold over to Kevin in the 3 seat. Kevin folds as well. Actions to Duke in the 4 seat. Duke's going to raise. 20,000 is the total bet. 20,000 is the raise by Duke. Actions over to Marty in the 7th seat. 20,000 is our total bet. And Marty's going to re-raise. 61,000 is the re-raise by Marty. 61,000 is the total bet by Marty. Neil and Dave both fold over to Dave in the 1 seat, who's in the big blind. Dave in the 1 seat folds. Action's going to be back to Duke. 61,000 is our total bet. And Duke's going to fold. Marty in the 7th seat is going to take down the pot.
Well done, Marty. Yay. You got to cheer for everybody at this end, please.
Clint, you're supposed to cheer for everyone. Just over 11 minutes left at this level. Still 1,000 Annie. 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds. Here at Grand Sierra Casino and Resort, we had 155 players start the tournament, down to our final 9. Kevin in the 3 seats going to be first act. Kevin's going to raise. 30,000 is the total bet by Kevin. Actions folded around to Marty. 30,000 is our total bet. Marty folds over to Neil on the 8th seat. 30,000 is our total bet. Neil folds. Over to Dave in the 9th seat. Dave folds over to Dave in the 1 seat. Dave folds as well. And to Larry in the big blind, he folds. Kevin in the 3 seat is going to take down the pot.
Go, Kevin.
Should I be the first to show a hand?
I showed Trey Deuce already.
Well,
Pretty much the same hand.
that's not even MC level.
Good hand, Kevin.
Very lucky.
Still 1,000 ante, 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds. About 10 minutes left at this level. These are 60-minute levels all day. 5,000 ante, or 1,000 ante, 5,000, 10,000. Duke's going to be first to act in the 4 seat. Duke's going to raise to 20,000. 20,000 is the raise by Duke in the 4 seat. Actions folded around to Marty in the 7 seat. Marty folds over to Neil in the 8 seat. 20,000 is our total bet. Neil folds over to Dave in the 9 seat. Dave folds over to Dave in the 1 seat. Dave folds. Larry folds. Actions on Kevin in the 3 seat. 20,000 is their total bet. And Kevin in the 3 seats gonna make the call. All right, gonna see our first flop here. Let's see the flop.
No.
All right, flop is King of Clubs, 8 of Hearts, 7 of Spades. Kevin checks over to Duke. Duke's gonna bet. 22,000 is the bet. And Kevin's gonna make the call here. 22,000 and a call. All right, still heads up here. Let's see the turn card. Turn card is the 10 of diamonds. Kevin in the 3 seat's gonna be first to act.
Question. I feel it's a little disadvantage to us as players that bets have to be announced. It's a visual game, yes? I mean, it's not a big deal, but...
35,000 is the bet by Kevin. 35,000. Actions over to Duke in the 4 seat. 35,000 is our total bet. And a call by Duke. 35,000 and a call. Still heads up here to the river. Let's see the river card.
the visual part of the game away if someone's sleeping.
River card is the deuce of hearts. Kevin's going to be first to act.
It happens. Yeah.
And Kevin's going to bet. 60,000 is the bet by Kevin. 60,000. Actions back to Duke in the 4 seat. 60,000 is our total bet. And Duke folds. Kevin in the 3 seat's going to take down the pot.
Yay, Kevin.
Want to get my first orange too.
Still 1,080, 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds, just over 6 minutes remaining at this level. Button is in the 2 seat here, 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds. Just over 6 minutes remaining at this level. Rob in the 5 seat's going to be first to act. Rob folds over to George in the 6 seat. George is going to raise to 21,000. 21,000 is the raise by George in the 6 seat. Actions over to Marty in the 7 seat. Marty's going to re-raise here. 56,000 is the re-raise by Marty in the 7th seat. Actions over to Neil in the 8th seat. 56,000 is our total bet. Neil folds over to Dave in the 9th seat. Dave folds over to Dave in the 1 seat. Dave folds as well. Actions on Larry in the 2 seat. Larry folds. Kevin folds as well over to Duke in the big blind. Duke folds as well. Action's back to George in the 6th seat. 56,000 is our total bet. And George folds. Marty takes down the pot.
Nice part, Marty. Someone was clapping.
Not easy, Marty.
Still about just over 4 minutes left at this level. 1,000, Annie, 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds.
Larry, everything okay at that end?
I'll send you a check for those lessons, Rob.
I got 5% free roll.
Apologize.
Bud's in the 3 seat here. 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds. Just over 4 minutes remaining at this level. These are 60-minute levels all day at the final table. George is going to be first act here in the 6th seat. George folds over to Marty in the 7th seat. Marty folds as well. Action's on Neil in the 8th seat. Neil folds. Action's over to Dave in the 9th seat. And Dave's going to raise to 22,000. 22,000 is the raise by Dave in the 9th seat. Action's over to Dave in the 1 seat. Dave folds in the 1 seat. Larry folds, Kevin folds. Actions to Duke in the small blind. 22,000 is a total bet. Duke's going to re-raise to 75,000. 75,000 is the re-raise by Duke. Rob folds. Action's going to be back to Dave in the 9th seat. 75,000 is the total bet. And Dave folds. Duke in the 4 seat's going to take down the pot.
Hey, Rob, can Duke borrow your fans? He's sitting close.
Tomorrow what?
Rob's fans.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a big line of people waiting to get in. They just haven't gotten in yet.
Bounce is making trouble.
Yeah.
So 1,000 Annie, 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds. Just over 2 minutes remaining at this level.
Or maybe it was a requirement to swim in that kind of deterred people away.
There you go. The streaming killed it. Everyone's at home watching.
Yeah, that's it.
Buttons in the 4 seat here. 5,000, 10,000 on the blinds.
Dropped whatever watching at home.
Marty in the 7th seat's going to be first act. Marty folds over to Neil in the 8th seat. Neil's going to raise. 26,000 is the raise by Neil in the 8th seat. 26,000. Actions to Dave in the 9th seat. Dave folds. Over to Dave in the 1 seat. 26,000 is our total bet. Dave folds. Larry folds over to Kevin in the 3 seat. Kevin folds as well. Actions to Duke on the button. He folds. Rob folds over to George in the big blind. 26,000 is our total bet. George makes the call. 26,000 and a call. Going to be heads up to the flop here. Let's see the flop. Flop is 9 of diamonds, Jack of clubs, 4 of diamonds. George is going to be first to act in the 6th seat. Checks over to Neil. Neil's going to bet. 36,000. 36,000 is the bet by Neil, and George is going to fold. Neil in the 8th seat's going to take down the pot.
You know what they need is those, you know, they've seen those iPads that are on like mobile things, the robotic iPad things that move around. They have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be the last hand at this
They
level.
have them like at hospitals now and stuff.
Last hand at this level, 1,000 Annie, 5,000, 10,000.
Some of them have a little robot.
Yeah. So you can just, they should just have a bunch, and then they can just log on, and your fans are just sitting there with their faces on.
See, screw the idea for a company you have. Do this one instead.
There you go. There you go.
You'll get a lot of advisors here. And a lot of free
Last hand at
advice.
this level.
We can be the board of directors. This table can be the board of directors.
Sounds good.
Neil's first act in the 8 seat.
Might be
Neil
a
folds.
little too risky strategies employed there. I saw one. I saw one.
3 of clubs, exposed card. Actions to Dave in the 1 seat. Actions folded around the Duke in the 4 seat. Duke's gonna raise. 25,000 is the raise by Duke. 25,000. Actions to Rob in the 5 seat. Rob folds. George in the small blind folds over to Marty in the big blind. 25,000 is the total bet.
You know I needed one color.
And Marty folds as well. Duke in the 4 seat's going to take down the pot.
So I needed one.
All right, guys, new level, 2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000 on the blinds. 2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000 on the blinds. 2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000.
Definitely flip it.
You couldn't call there, Rob?
No.
Come on, man.
I'd zero to you. You would have re-raised.
No way. I didn't read that chapter of your book yet.
And Dave in the 9 seat's going to be first act. 12,000 is our big blind now. Dave folds over to Dave in the 1 seat.
Okay, it's finally time.
Dave in the 1 seat moves all in. Dave is all in the 1 seat.
Thanks
Larry
for waiting
folds
for
over
my
to
big
Kevin in the
blind,
3
Dave.
seat. Kevin folds. Actions to Duke in the 4 seat.
You're welcome.
Dave in the 1 seat is all in.
Looks like it's not going to get that.
Duke has asked for a count.
No, that's much better.
86,000 is what Dave is all in for in the 1 seat. 86,000. Duke announces call. 86,000 is a total bet and a call by Duke. Actions folded around to Marty in the small blind. Marty folds over to Neil in the big blind. 86,000 is our total bet.
Well, Duke, I'm glad you called, because otherwise I probably would have had to.
All right, Neil's going to fold. All right, we have an all-in and a call. Let's see the hands.
Not much.
Oh, didn't expect that.
Oh, man.
Don't have much.
Too weak.
Switch the high.
Me too. What'd you fold?
All right.
I had ace eight of hearts.
That's going to take a bad beat.
Yeah, at least you got in good.
Yeah, got it in good.
Yeah, I think I'm dominated by him.
Let's see some clubs, not spades.
All right, go ahead. Pull the chips.
It's always a sweat.
Always
Ace is coming and three's coming.
All the chips. All the chips. To the right.
Nice spot.
To the right. Just a little bit. How's that look?
All right, Dave is all in here with the king of clubs, queen of clubs. Duke has king of spades, jack of spades. Dave in the 1 seat's currently in the lead, but his tournament life is at risk here. Let's see the flop.
Good luck, Dave.
Thank you.
Flop is deuce of spades, deuce of hearts, 4 of hearts. Dave is still currently in the lead with king of clubs, queen of clubs. Let's see the turn card.
It's looking really, really, really good.
I'm looking good for my
Turn card is the ace of clubs. Dave is still in the lead with the king of clubs, queen of clubs.
What's 3 of hearts now?
Let's see the river card.
That would be a set.
River card is the Queen of Hearts, and Dave in the 1 seat's going to double up and win the pot.
Okay.
Back, yeah, sure.
So Dave, he saved you.
At the end of called.
Yeah.
Yeah, ace.
They say suited hearts.
Still at 2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000 on the blinds. 2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000 on the blinds. 54 minutes remaining at this level. These are 60-minute levels.
Just keeping in the wire now.
Is this one and one?
2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000 on the
did I put
blinds.
one in? Sorry. I got the blind right. Is that good?
Your ante would have been right still from your blind.
Just kind of feel for it. Not sure where it's at. And 6,000 ante, 12,000, 6,000, 12,000 on the blinds. Dave in the 1 seat's going to be first act. Dave folds. Over to Larry in the 2 seat. Larry folds. Kevin folds as well. Actions to Duke. He folds. Actions folded around to Marty on the button. Marty folds. Actions to Neil in the small blind. Neil's going to raise.
33, yeah.
33,000 is the raise by Neil in the 8 seat. 33,000. Actions to Dave in the big blind.
Yeah, you can have it.
Thank
And
you.
Dave folds. Neil in the 8 seat's going to take down the pot. Still 2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000 on the blinds. 2,000 ante, 612 on the blinds.
I bet you there's plenty of events like this where people don't want, like, it's not a draw enough to show up, but they're definitely watching from home, you know?
Yes.
So, like, that added element of, like, showing their face or being able to converse with your fan, you know, just go up to the monitor and be like, talking to your personal friend.
That's the part of the HPT.
Buttons in the 8 seat here. Larry's going to be first to act in the 2 seat. Larry folds. Kevin folds. Actions the Duke in the 4 seat.
What is it, 12? Sorry.
612 on the blinds. Duke's going to raise.
24.
24,000 is the raise by Duke. 24,000. Actions over to George in the 6th seat. 24,000 is our total bet.
Call.
George makes the call. 24,000 is the total bet. Marty folds over to Neil in the 8th seat. 24,000 is our total bet. Neil folds over to Dave in the 9th seat. Dave folds over to Dave in the 1 seat. Dave in the 1 seat folds. We're going to be heads up here, 24,000 and a call. Going to be heads up to the flop. Let's see the flop. Flop is 7 of spades, 3 of clubs, Jack of clubs. Duke's going to be first to act. Checks. Over to George. George is going to bet. 30,000 is the bet by George. 30,000. Actions back to Duke. And Duke's going to make the call. 30,000 and a call. Still heads up to the turn here. Let's see the turn card. Turn card is the Queen of Spades. Duke's first. Over to George.
Yo, hey, Make sure you call.
75,000 is the
Call
bet by
her
George.
after that.
75,000.
Just let her know what time it will arrive. Okay, yeah, right.
And Duke's going to make the call. 75,000 and a call. All right, still heads up here to the river. Let's see the river card. River card is the ace of hearts. Duke's going to be first to act. Checks over to George. George is going to bet 30,000. 30,000 is the bet by George. And Duke's going to fold. George in the 6th seat's going to take down the pot.
Nice pot, George.
Nice spot, George. Nice spot.
Your cheering section's way back there.
Yeah.
They sound underwater.
They're in the pool.
Still 2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000 on the blinds, just over 48 minutes remaining at this level. 2,000 ante.
It's a good fold. You'll see it on the camera.
Oh, well, since we'll see it, why don't you just tell us?
Set of jacks, my guess, set of jacks.
I'm not going to tell you
Set of
that.
jacks.
You'll have to see it.
Buttons in the 9 seat here.
I probably won't watch it. So.
You won't
Kevin
watch
in the
it?
3 seat's going to be
Fine.
first
No,
act.
no, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. You won. I mean, nice. You win the winning game. Didn't have much. Not that curious. It's just contemplating a bluff.
Kevin folds. Actions folded around to George in the 6th seat. George folds. Marty folds over to Neil in the 8th seat.
Wasn't that tough over there.
Neil folds over to Dave in the 9th seat. Dave folds as well. Actions on Dave in the 1 seat in the small blind. And Dave's going to make the call. Option to Larry in the 2 seat. Larry's going to raise. Total bet.
15 on top.
No, total bet.
27.
27,000 is the total bet. 27,000. 27,000 is our total bet. Actions back to Dave in the 1 seat. And Dave folds. Larry in the 2 seat's going to take down the pot.
Yay, Larry. Welcome to the game.
And what's up, guys? This is Dutch Boyd in the booth watching the live stream with you. We are here at Grand Sierra, Nevada on location. We've got a little bit of a delay coming through, but if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the Twitch chat. We can answer them live right there. So right now we are playing 2K ante, 6K, 12K. There's 59,000 up top.
6,000, 12,000 on the blind. Sections folded around to Marty.
These players
in the 7th seat.
you might recognize.
Marty folds. Over to Neil in the 8th seat.
Neil Blumenfield, right there in the hat and the scarf in seat 8, is one of our November 9 at the World Series of Poker main event. That is David Brewer to his left, giving him the stare down. Looks like Neil's bringing out those raising.
Neil's going to raise to 27,000. 27,000 is the raise by Neil. Dave in the 9 seat folds. Over to Dave in the 1 seat. Dave folds as well. Actions on Larry in the small blind.
Dave Stam in the 1 seat, I think, is currently our short stack at the table. We haven't lost anybody here at the final table here.
27,000 is our total bet.
Next person out is going to be walking home with $6,600.
And Kevin's going to make the call.
That is Kevin Weinman in C3 making the call from the big blind.
To the flop here. Let's see the flop.
An architect from Redwood City, California.
Flop is 8 of hearts, deuce of hearts, king of hearts. Kevin's going to be first to act. Checks over to Neil.
Check from Kevin. And I would expect Neil to go ahead and give a C bet here, which he looks like he's going to be doing. We'll see how much.
And Neil's going to bet 32,000.
32,000
is the bet by Neil.
So 27K pre-flop open, 32,000 continuation bet. Kevin Wyman says poker's just a hobby in his life.
32,000 and the call. All right, let's see the turn card. Turn card is the 5 of hearts. Kevin's going to be first to act. Checks over to Neil.
The 4 flush out. You know, it doesn't look like Neil's very happy to see that 4th heart. Is he acting? He's obviously doing something right. I mean, he's I believe this is probably his first event since coming off
Neil's
the World
55,000.
Series of Poker main event.
55,000 is the bet by Neil. Over to Kevin in the 3 seat.
In form. He fires out a second bullet on the turn. Looks like Kevin's not going anywhere.
Kevin's going to raise.
Going for a check raise, and I can tell you
120,000.
If I'm in Neil's spot,
by Kevin.
I gotta put my guy on
back to Neil on the 8 seat.
On a heart there. Kevin pretty much, you know, saying with that check raise that he's willing to go the whole way.
And Neil's going to fold. Kevin in the 3 seat's going to take down the pot.
If we can get the air conditioning down a little.
So Kevin taking a little bite out of Neil's stack, and we.
I'm comfortable, so most of you must be freezing.
I usually
nice hand, Kevin.
Very nice hand, Kevin.
Put a hand in the blind.
Looks like he increases the stack by about 100,000 there.
Sweatshirt? Oh no. No? Damn, I can't even buy a sweatshirt for $5 grand.
All right, still 2,080, 6,000, 12,000 on the blinds. Rob in the 5 seat's going to be first to act. Rob's going to raise. 26,000 is the total bet. 26,000.
Robert Mitchell in the big blind, a professional from Salt Lake City,
26,000 is our total bet.
He's got a couple of friends with him in the audience today. And this is Marty Gorank in the 7 seat. He is he's a semi-retired poker player.
Marty's going to make the call. 26,000 and a call. Actions to Neil on the 8 seat.
He's been very active on the tournament trail this year, taking down the Foxwoods championship back in May, and is really come on the tournament trail this year with just tearing it apart. He's accumulated close to $250,000 in
actions on Dave in the 9th seat
in his career. It looks like it was a contractor, but now he's just playing poker full time.
26,000 is our total bet.
Let's see if we can add to that to those career highlights with an HPT bracelet right here in Reno at the Grand Sierra.
Larry folds. Kevin folds over to Duke in the big blind, and Duke folds as well. Going to be heads up to the flop here. All right, let's see the flop.
Giving it the call. Given the defense, we got Jeremy calling the action from the floor.
Queen of diamonds, 7 of clubs, 10 of clubs. Rob's going to be first to act. Rob's going to bet 27,000. 27,000 is the bet. Actions over to Marty.
And I gotta say, this is little strange. You'd kind of expect that if Robert had a strong hand, he'd elect to go for a check raise rather than donk leading into a pre-flop aggressor. And Marty coming to the same conclusion. Looks like he's going to go for raising chips.
Marty's going to raise.
Looks like maybe 75,000 there.
80.
80,000 is the raise by Marty. 80,000 is the total bet. Action's going to be back to Rob in the 5 seat.
The white chips here are 5,000. The yellows are 1,000. And I believe the orange peach.
And Rob's going to make the call. 80,000 and a call.
Are 25,000. I
still heads up to the turn here. Let's see the turn card. Turn card is the 5 of hearts. Rob's going to be first to act. Checks over to Marty.
We'll see how much pressure Robert can take here.
105.
105. 105,000 is the announced bet by Marty. 105 and a call by Rob. 105,000 and a call.
A pretty quick call here by Robert.
All right, 105,000 and a call. All right, still heads up to the river card here. Let's see the river.
All sorts of draws out here. Let's see if the texture changes.
6 of spades. Rob's going to be first act.
Not too much. The 8-9 got there. If Robert was on a straight, looks down at his chips, looks down again. But any other draw pretty much missed. The flush draw missed. The king-jack missed. The jack-9 missed.
Rob checks over to Marty. And Marty checks as well. Shows ace-queen for a pair of queens. Marty shows ace-queen. Oh, they have the same hand.
Wow.
Ace-queen for Rob as well. Going to be a chop pot.
So they both have top pair, top kicker. Robert elects to go ahead and check.
I thought I did too.
He almost did.
And Marty
Get the extra chip since I had the club.
deciding that the pot's big enough, checks back. Kind of interesting. It looks like
Actually, it's kind of a boring result for the rest of us.
Yeah, we thought. Hey, that's my sweet food.
What a waste of 7 good minutes.
Sweet shoot up time.
He's excited about this.
I can't call you a calling station anymore.
Make sure they see the play. Good.
All right, it's still 2,000 ante, 6,000, 12,000. Just over 37 minutes remaining at this level.
Thanks for joining us here at the HPT live stream.
155 players down to our final 9 players.
With all these players seeing some pretty significant pay jumps between 9th and 8th and 1st. Again, there's $59,454 up top for first place. Second is $36,000. Third is $22,000. The next person out is only going to be walking away with $6,600. Still not a bad payday for a $1,600 tournament, but leaving a lot of money on the table. 8th place, $7,800. 7th is $8,900. So, you know, like most tournaments, it's going to be really top heavy with most of the money up top.
Marty folds. Actions to Neil in the 8th seat. Neil folds over to Dave in the 9th seat.
What do you do up an incline?
Dave's going to raise to 40,000. 40,000 is the raise by Dave in the 9th seat.
We've got Dave Brewer
Dave
raising in the 9th seat.
Over to Larry in the 2 seat.
A retired
40,000 is our total
clerk
bet.
and computer programmer.
Larry and Kevin
Stockton,
will fold over to Duke
California.
in the small blind. Duke folds. And Rob folds. Dave in the 9th seat's going to take down the pot.
Go Dave.
Once did you work for
Yes,
these
go
trader?
Daves, go Daves.
And he,
And Dave takes down the blinds and antes. Looks like he's pretty happy with that result. You can see here he's got one of the short stacks at the table with what looks like around 260,000. You know, I think that those orange chips might actually be less. Let me check on that, you guys.
All right, Marty in the 7th seat's going to be first act. Marty folds. Over to Neil in the 8th seat. Neil folds. Action's on Dave in the 9th seat.
Okay, we're being joined in the booth with a friend of ours. Clint, you feel like introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Dave folds. Over
my
to Dave in
name's
the
Clint
1 seat.
Cartwright. Just been here doing the live updates for the Facebook page. So yeah, it's kind of exciting. Watching the players, you know, talking to them pretty much all week since we've been here. It's fun getting to know
Dave's
them.
going to raise to
watching everybody
26,000.
when it's, you know, more of a
26,000
final
is the
table
raise by
TV,
Dave in the
because
1 seat.
Everybody's tended
Action's
to
folded around to
change
Rob in the
way
small
they
blind. He
played a little
folds.
bit
Over to
today
George in the
from
big
what I've
blind.
noticed.
26,000 is our total bet.
And you've been with HPT for a little bit.
And Rob
do you
folds as
recognize
well.
a few of
Dave
these
in the 1
players
seat's going to take down
from
the pot.
some of the other events?
I mean, actually, I've seen a few. I know Neil has one final table already, so you know he's on a good run, as we can all tell.
Right, November 9. Neil, has he played some of the other HPT events since his main event?
Since his main event, no. I think this is the first one he's played since the main event. I know he went down to Hollywood and played in the 10 million guarantee. I think he ran pretty deep in that, actually. Pretty sure he cashed in that as well. The rest of these guys, I know a couple are local. Robert Mitchell finished 52nd in the main this year as well. So a couple of guys
and
that
Neil's first act here
run
in
deep
the
in
8th
the main,
seat.
and obviously the biggest tournament.
6,000, 12,000 on the
here on
blinds.
the final table. So, you know, you
Neil's
kind of get
gonna
that run
raise.
good going, and you just
27,000
keep that
is the
streak alive
raise
and
by
keep
Neil. 27,000.
Looks like Neil's going to give it a raise in the under the gun. It's the new button raise under the gun.
Yeah,
He
I
folds
mean,
over to
I
Dave in the
like
1
the play
seat.
because it shows strength a lot of times, and the table's been playing very
Dave and
tight
Larry
so
both
far.
fold. Over to Kevin in the
So
3 seat.
Really,
Kevin folds.
Duke's
Over to
been
Duke
the
in the
most
4
active
seat.
player here, and it hasn't really gone his way.
Duke folds as well.
That
Rob
was
folds over to
Duke
George.
Lee in the
George
hoodie
folds.
right there in the cutoff. Right?
Action's on Marty in the big blind.
Professional poker player from, where's Duke from?
I'm not sure. Let's take a look here.
And Marty folds as well. Neil's going to take down the pot.
Good hand, Neil.
It was. Thank you.
Yeah, I could tell.
Neil taking it down.
You don't fold it? I bet you can tell.
At the end, it was best.
Yeah.
Looks like
It was
Duke's
last
from
hand standing.
Pleasanton, California. Which is
Still 2,000, Andy,
probably a couple
6,000,
hours away from
12,000
here.
on the blind, just over 32 minutes.
Just
remaining
watching
at
this
this
right
level.
now, you can tell that Neil's
I did want to
way
call
more
it 'cause I was
comfortable
gonna
at the
flop
table
flops.
than the rest of the people, from what I can see so far.
Dave in the 9th
Oh.
seat's going to be first act.
It was a sad story for you.
Well, he is the player to watch. What do you think about that? You make a the World Series of Poker main event
Dave folds over to
championship
Dave
final table
in the 1 seat.
is going to be playing down in November. If you're in Neil's spot, are you coming out to tournaments like this to kind of keep your game sharp?
I mean, yeah, I think I would continue
Actions
to play.
folded around to Duke
Maybe
in the
not
4th seat.
quite so much volume. Definitely, a few stops that you enjoy.
Duke folds. Rob folds over to George on the button.
But you don't want to just take a 3-month
Careful,
vacation.
George announces raise.
Of playing poker,
Okay.
because you don't want your skills to be rusty at all. You want to go in to obviously the biggest final table of your life with your skills toned and doing exactly what you did.
37,000. 37,000 is the raise.
So
by
I'm all
George.
for
Over to Marty
playing.
in the small blind. 37,000 is our
I
total bet.
personally would stay in tournament mode. I probably wouldn't play a single cash game the entire 3-month layover.
I think I'm
Marty
with
folds.
you on
So
that,
Neil
Clint. I
in
got
the
to
big
tell you
blind.
though, I don't know that I would be playing a lot of televised events if I'm in that spot, because you got to think that there's at least a couple of his opponents,
Says big hand and
are
folds
going to be
accidentally.
studying
Jack
him
deuce
and
face up.
maybe even watching this live stream, trying to pick up on any
George takes
tendencies
down the pot.
or pre-flop percentages,
Still 2,000, Andy, 6,000,
actual physical
12,000
tells.
on the blinds.
I would feel like that. It would be a little bit exposing being a player like Neil, making the final table of the main event, then playing a televised event like this, where I think up to this point there's really not too much footage on Neil.
All will.
Right, so there's not really too much to go on except what they're going to be able to,
There's two guys on your right
to
and the
gather
guy on
from the
your left.
World Series of Poker coverage.
Yeah, and that's
Actually,
one
three
thing
guys
that
on your right.
really I didn't think about is,
I don't know about
like you
Larry.
said, I would be playing poker, But televised, that's definitely something that I haven't thought of because you're absolutely
David's
right.
first act
You
here
don't
in the
want
one seat.
anybody getting that extra advantage.
6,000, 12,000 on the blinds.
Even though they're going to break
Dave
down,
folds.
you know, the footage
Larry
that
folds
they
over
can
Kevin
get
in
from
the 3 seat.
ESPN or you know, whatever there is on you already. And he does have a couple of final tables, like I said, through HPT. So people are going to get it, but you know,
Kevin's gonna
especially
raise.
you know, we're at the end of
42,000 is the
September now,
raise.
and now it's getting closer.
Right,
There's
Kevin?
only 30 days.
42,000.
You know, his
Actions
game has
fold around
probably
to Marty on the
changed
button.
some from studying
42,000
and
is our
looking
total
at
bet.
and wanting to try some new things for the final table. That you know, this kind of gives that exposure of exactly how he's going to be playing. So, you know, but you don't play a tournament thinking, you know, okay, I'm just going to get to the final table and then not, you know, not play. So, I mean, if this was one of the events that he had laid out or it was close to home, then I would have definitely came out and played anyway.
Well, big shout out to Joe McKeon if he's watching, and Pierre and Max and all those other guys who will be competing with Neil for the World Championship. It would be awesome to see him just go back-to-back HPT Championship, WSOP Championship.
That's, yeah, and I heard he's going up to Thunder Valley.
That's not even close to a
main up there and next weekend. So
very cool. That's a very short drive from here in Reno, where we are right now. 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours, and I actually went up there Wednesday. When I got in, the place is beautiful. I mean, it's just one of the best resorts I've seen. You know, everything was awesome up there. The poker room's pretty nice.
So Kevin Wyman taking the blinds and antes there, adding to his stack. Looks like he's up to 600,000 something.
Yeah, that looks right at 600,000. And the thing is you're scooping, you know, 36,000 chips just by taking the blinds and
Is
antes.
it cold enough to make your nipples hard?
You know, it's to the point where, you know, playing position and just taking the blinds and antes are very profitable at this stage.
I'm not excited to see you.
Or even with like the chip leader at this table, it would be 5-6%, not an insignificant amount of his stack. And who is the chip leader right now? Is that Larry?
Yeah, chip leader is Larry, and you know,
C2.
Larry's going to be hard to get his chips from. He's going to be hard to get the chips out of him. He's been playing pretty solid pretty much all weekend, just watching him. And, you know, he's a guy that really hasn't said much to the table, you know, doesn't talk a lot, just sits there and has built his stack, you know, just quietly, you know, no monster hands, nothing like that, but, you know, takes his shots when he can. And you know, I haven't seen him call down light at all.
So Clint, you've been reporting from the sidelines this whole event on the HPT Facebook page. Tell us a little bit about the story about how these players got here. How did Larry get all the chips in front of him?
Well, like I said, one of the big things about Larry is he's been very methodical in his approach, and you know, he is slowly just taking chips. Nothing, no big pots, no big suck outs, but just, you know, has waited for pretty, you know, top 5% hands and has played them well and is maximized on them because, you know, everybody that's around there that's playing more aggressively wants to take out the guy that they know is playing pretty tight, but he just always has it, and they're still paying him off. So, you know, Larry is, like I said, going to be hard pressed to get to that point where you can just take his chips pretty easily. It's going to definitely take, you know, two big hands running into each other for him to let loose of that stack. Now, some of the other guys have had much different approaches to getting here. Neil's, you know, his stack was up and down the entire ride.
You said he was pretty much crippled at one point on day 2, right?
Absolutely. Day 2, day 1. I mean, at almost every point, he's had a wild ride way up and down. And, you know, he was down to like 12 or 13 big blinds earlier in day 2. And it's just slowly, you know, started to gain it. And, you know, even late on day 1, he was really, really down. Took a pretty bad beat that I saw. And got moved to another table short stack and just started being very aggressive, opening a lot of pots. And at this time, you know, this was getting close to the end of day one, and he started to accumulate chips, and to that point, you know,
Neil's going to take down the pot.
he ended up getting in a hand with, his name was Brady.
Thank you.
Late in day one, where he kind of semi-bluffed with an open-ended straight draw. Brady called him with top 2 pair, and Neil rivers the straight, 9-high straight, scoops a big pot. Actually, that pretty much, you know, just slingshotted him, you know, into the chip lead actually when they bagged for day 1A. And it was, you know, it was an interesting way to watch because, you know, Brady actually ended up rebuying, firing a second bullet, and ended up finishing 10th on this, just missing the final table or the TV final table.
You know, I know the player you're talking about. When I took a bullet in this, I actually am in this event for 3 bullets, so I'm a little bit jealous of all of these players. My very first bullet, Brady was to my right.
32.
Seemed pretty solid. Didn't really get out of line. Yeah, so then to watch him get in 10th place, it was. Wow, how about that bubble? Tell us a little bit about that last night. We were sitting on the sidelines together, and it just happened so fast.
Duke announces all in the 4 seed.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was. I would say what bubble, really, because we went from 12 players down to the TV final table of 9 in 8 minutes. I couldn't even update the hands fast enough on the website. It was pretty interesting to me that it happened so quickly. You know, because I was even asking everybody, I was like, you know, what's the normal time frame for that TV final table? It's like usually the TV bubble is even longer.
Oh, wow, look at this. We do have an all-in and a call. Duke Lee going all in. Kevin making the call with ace-queen. It looks like Duke has... Did you hear what Duke has? Was it ace-king versus ace-queen?
I did not hear. Hopefully we'll be able to see it here.
Yep, so Duke has the ace-king. Kevin with the ace-queen. Duke is well ahead, but also at risk for exiting.
Queen of clubs. Duke has ace of clubs, king of clubs.
We'll see if the pain happens.
Duke is currently in the lead, but his tournament life is at risk here. All right, let's see the flop.
Stopping royal.
Flop is king of hearts, 5 of hearts, 4 of
Well,
diamonds.
that's pretty much going to seal it, unless we see some crazy shenanigans.
Runouts.
That's going to be a double up for Duke.
How about a tray?
Yeah, that seals the deal. So Duke avoids the 3-outer, avoids the you know, the 20-something%.
One too late.
Double up, let's get a chip count here.
I was trying to get you chopped there, Kevin. I was trying to get you a chop.
Better see that river.
Jack 10.
250, 75, 275.
That's too much to ask.
What's the total?
275.
275, 275,000 total.
Pretty big swing there. So Duke Lee finding himself now with what's got to be close to 600,000. Yeah, 275,000 to start the hand, plus the blinds and antes. Yeah, I think we're looking at.
Okay, I hate to tell you guys this,
We're looking
but
at just
of the
shy of
massive crowd that we
600,000
had,
now, which
we've
is going to
lost
put him
half of them
towards
because
the
we're
top.
so damn boring. If Larry would talk, then the room would be full.
Yeah.
And as you heard, just Neil was saying, he was talking about how
Is really
he's not
that
even
it?
talking at all. So, you know, Neil's trying to get to him, get him, you know, riled up. I'm sure he wants him to kind of open up a little bit.
Okay,
It'll help
stop.
Neil's game when talking. You know, those stone cold faces are really hard to read.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, he's even harder of hearing than I am. That's going somewhere.
No, I don't really think Neil's been that talkative during hands. I mean, he's been he's been concealing himself pretty well.
So
He's got
you
the
right back where you
scarf on,
started?
he's got the sunglasses on, he's got the hat
All
on.
that work.
And when he's been in hands, he's really been a statue.
Yeah, Neil doesn't talk at all during the hands, as I've seen the whole time. He likes to talk, you know, outside of the hands. A couple times when he's facing hard decisions late in the tournament, you know, when he's the last to act, he will kind of walk himself through the hand. but he's not giving up anything. When he's in the hand, he's pretty much stone cold. He always caps his cards, and he's going to take a second here before he makes any decisions.
We'll see how consistent this timing is.
27.
Looks like about 7 seconds between capping his cards and actually going for chips. Going for 27,000 at the 6K, 12K level, which I think is the same pre-flop amount that he's been making it, regardless of position, regardless of we're not really seeing any sort of variation of his pre-flop multiple, which I feel like is the right way to go. And look at this, we have Neil kind of cracking here, asking, "Can't you give up one big blind?" What does it mean? What does it mean, Clint?
I mean, well, the thing is Neil lost a pretty big hand earlier to Kevin in the same spot, raised. Kevin defended the big blind, 27K, everything the exact same, and it was an all hard flop.
Yep.
It looks like actually.
And a heart on the turn.
Yeah, and a heart on the turn. I really think Neil had a pretty big hand, but just didn't have a good heart in his hand, so he had to fold on the river when he was check raised. And maybe that's a little opening
not
up.
to pick hairs, but I think Kevin actually check raised him on the turn there. The fourth heart came on the turn, and he gave him a little check raise. Up to like 100,000.
Yeah, 120K, and he just, again, it's hard to call without a pretty good heart there.
Did it look to you like Neil had checked that flop back? Is that what we just saw? Neil checked back, and then Kevin firing out on the turn. So, I mean, to me, what a check back on an ace-king board would be is somewhere like a weak ace or some sort of king.
And
king
especially
jack,
with
king
Neil
10.
watching a couple hands throughout the last couple days, Steve Foudy, that ended up being the bubble boy in this tournament, right on the money bubble. Kind of the same situation.
You'd really kind of expect Neil to make the call here, given the way that he played the hand. I mean, it looks so much like he checked back on the flop for pot control, so that he wouldn't be inflating the pot too much with a weaker, with a weaker ace.
Yeah.
And I don't really see him getting away from an ace. The way that the board ran out. Of course, I could be completely wrong here, and he just has absolutely nothing and was setting himself up for some sort of crazy move on the turn or the river, but I don't think so. I think that if he was going to make a move, he would have been making it on the turn. He does get away. What does that mean to you? Because to me, that looks like some sort of king hand.
Maybe.
Just deciding that.
Maybe at a king 10, suited king 10, suited king queen. But Kevin's been pretty solid all day too. So maybe the weak ace was there, and Neil just wanted to get away from it. Didn't want to put more chips in the middle. And be completely dominated by Kevin. Like I said, Kevin's played pretty solid the entire time. But, again, defending a big blind, that opens your range up a lot there as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Robert Mitchell under the gun, looking down at his cards one at a time, quickly getting rid of them.
And he's actually been very quiet so far today. He was definitely one of the more active players throughout the rest of the weekend. I'm pretty sure he's been really, really hard to be this inactive.
28.
28,000 is the raise by George. 28,000. Actions on Mario in the 7th seat.
So George Kleinman, a commodities trader from Incline Village, Nevada.
I'm not even sure what commodities trader means.
Alright, he folds over to Neil in the 8th seat. Neil folds as well. 28,000 is our total bets.
28K, making it 28K from under the gun +1.
David Brewer's interesting here, and he's thinking about making a call here. Guess he doesn't, but I heard he's an ex-magician, so I wonder if that's on his profile.
Actions to Larry in the 2 seat.
Well, his email name is, it's got some magic in it. So, I mean, being an old magician is awesome.
And Duke folds. George in the 6th seat is going to take down the pot.
There's some sweat in there, George.
I don't know, I think maybe I want to call it. That's what I'm saying.
So I guess I would, you know, I'd probably enjoy sitting there talking to David Brewer and, you know, but I don't want him to touch the cards if he's a magician.
Always better to take it down without a fight, though, no matter what it is, you know?
Yeah, George in the 16th is going to be first dance. George Folds. Over to Marty in the 7th seat.
So here's a player that I think that we're going to see a lot more of on the tournament trail.
Marty Folds. Actions to Neil in the 8th seat.
Marty has been putting up score after score after score.
Dave in the 9th seat.
He's racked up $250,000 in tournament earnings, with his biggest cash being out in Connecticut, in one of the Foxwoods, what was it, the Foxwoods Deep Chip main event, I think, in May.
Oh, wow. So that's a pretty big tournament.
Woke up, Larry.
But yeah, Marty's definitely going to travel. I think he's already got plans to go up to Thunder Valley, which is the next HPT main stop, next weekend. So I definitely, like you said, just see him traveling around more, getting out there, and he's playing pretty well. He's made some big laydowns from, you know, not cards that I saw, but just conversation around the table this week. You know, laid down queens in a awkward spot, you know, is pretty much,
what's the over-under on the first buck?
Doesn't really want to flip as much as most people do, which I'm a big proponent of that. I hate flipping if you can get away from it.
And Marty's going to be first actor in the 7th seat.
So Robert Mitchell, I just found this out. He took 52nd this year in the World Series of Poker main event.
So did I. Yeah,
137,000. So he's pretty fresh off of a huge score. I wonder if he ran into Neil during that event.
Yeah, actually, little conversation, you know, just between everybody. I think they played together for a little while. I don't think it was like too long or anything like that, but I do know that they played together at a few tables throughout the main event this year, which is, you know, obviously it's something that, like we were talking about before, knowing how you've played in the past, but, you know, this also gets a little bit of, you know, what has Neil been working on since then. Obviously, he's playing the main event final table in November, so everybody's working on their game for that, for sure. And so it's interesting how much he's changed, and without knowing how Neil played before, you know, I can't sit here and say, yeah, this is what he's changed or what he hasn't changed. Again, Robert is definitely hasn't been in many hands at all, which, you know, was not the case the rest of the weekend.
And this is kind of an interesting hand brewing. It looks like Magic Dave made a raise. Larry, the chip leader, still the chip leader, gave it a little 3-bet to 100,000. And is going to take it down. Kind of interesting. I always kind of like watching a player put on the sunglasses after making his pre-flop action. Kind of feels to me like, you know, at that point it's just too late.
I think I honestly don't like it at all. I think it's bad. I mean, if you're gonna wear the glasses, wear the glasses. Don't, you know, because you're just giving off too many tells, in my opinion. Like, you're trying to conceal your tells with sunglasses, and you're just giving them every one of them away.
I completely agree. You're actually adding tells by how you
move your hands,
how you move them, and how you move the glasses over you. I feel like, yeah, we're completely on the same page on this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sunglasses are fine if you want to wear them, but be consistent with how you wear them. Like I said, and this is the first time that I've seen him. Throughout the weekend, he did not have them. I think that's more of a final table, you know, TV type of image, and it just, like you said, it just doesn't work, in my opinion. I think you have to either go with the glasses or don't.
Hold it around Marty in the big blind. 26,000 is our total bet.
And at the risk of getting in trouble from HPT, I'm going to go ahead and make a plug for Blue Shark Optics. Both Clint and I are on the Blue Shark Optics Pro team, and I think that has a lot to do with why we see Larry not wearing his sunglasses, pre-flop, is because they're very dark.
Yeah.
It's very hard to see. So, yeah, Blue Shark Optics, be able to see the cards in front of you, see the flop, and not have to do what we're seeing Larry here in the 2-seat have to do, which is look down at his whole cards and then put the sunglasses on. It looks like he's not the only one, too. Yeah. Like there's a couple of players here kind of going back and forth between being able to see their whole cards, see the chip stacks. You got
yeah, it looks like George Kleiman's got glasses on his. Marty's wearing glasses, but they tend to have more of a clearer lens on them. But yeah, it's one of those things like I don't know, just wear them or don't. You're giving too many tells off by putting glasses down at one point in time.
And Larry picking up another one. So we haven't seen much action from him, and now this orbit we see two pots going his way.
Yeah, and one was an open raise, and then the first one was a 3-bet, and just with the solid image that I've seen, if he's 3-betting, he's got a pretty big hand. Now, I'm hoping that at some point he loosens that up a little bit more as the day goes on, uses that image, kind of opens it up, and otherwise it's going to be really hard to get. I mean, he's stacking, looks close to 800,000 right there.
Yeah, he might be opening it up right now. We don't even know it. I'm kind of curious to, once we actually see whole cards down the line. I mean, how much of this tight image just has to do with the fact that he's one of the older ones at the table and quiet. It could be that that Larry's just looking down the old Queen 5 offsuit and the 7-3 suited and saying, "Oh, they're never going to see this coming."
Well, I mean, more props to him if he does, because I'd love to see that, especially when you sit at the table. The first thing is, "Oh man, this is an older gentleman. His range is very concealed." Where then you get more active, and then I'm like, wait. Hold on, is this Florida poker?
Yeah.
In the big blind, 34,000 is our total bet.
Looks like Neil's going to defend. Nope. Giving it the pass.
And the first time when we kind of looked at him, and you said it took him about 7 seconds to act after he tapped his cards. That actually was a faster pace than I had seen the rest of the weekend. So I was kind of curious, when he did that, what was going on in his head, and that, about 10 or 15 seconds more there was more what the pace that I've seen him play his cards at, whether it's defend or re-raise or whatever. And he becomes a statue. And that one hand, he just kind of changed everything on us and just went different. He started talking, as the hand started, he went a little bit quicker. So I wonder, if that means that he just had a weaker hand and was pretty much giving it up to start with.
Folds action to Kevin in the 3-seat. Kevin folds. Over to Duke in the 4-seat. Duke's gonna raise.
29.
Yeah, Duke's definitely been the most active player here so far. Lost a few big hands early, but then got the huge double up with Ace King against Ace Queen. So, I see him gonna probably continue.
60,000 is the total bet by Robert.
Robert giving the 3-bet here. And look at that 3-bet too. 3-betting up to 60,000, which is almost a minimum, like a min 3-bet. When you're an opener, or at least when I'm an opener, I'd almost prefer the 3-bet to be more. At least then I feel like I can feel good about folding. You know, but when a guy just min 3-bets you, I mean, it's just impossible to make a fold when you can talk yourself into getting 4-1 to make the call.
Especially with another caller, as Marty gets into the pot as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're almost getting, unless you just open with 2 rags, you're really putting yourself in a situation where you have to defend this.
And then the problem then is that you're playing the rest of the hand out of position with likely the weaker holding, and a lot of times those reverse implied odds kick in, and but you just can't make the fold, or you're just painting a target on your forehead saying, anytime I make this this open, I'm opening so weak that you could just 3-bet me off of of my hand every time. Wow, Neil taking a long time here to make the fold.
Yeah, he had a hand he wanted to get in there with, but just decided against it with this is already going to be heads up unless Duke comes and 4-bets here, which I don't think that's going to happen, especially with him looking at his cards. Yeah.
Wow, and he just makes the fold. That's really interesting to me, because it looks like he was getting somewhere on the order like 5.5 to 1 to make that call, but he just decides, you know what, I'm so beat here.
Yeah, and again, it's like I said, Robert's been playing pretty solid so far. So when he 3-bets, and Duke's been the most active person, so he could have easily just opened super light.
It makes me kind of feel actually like if for Duke to make that fold, he has to have something like a weaker ace where he can't really think of a flop that can hit him.
Right.
Where he can hit his ace and it still not be good. So what is he going for? His bottom trips, or his or some sort of 2-pair hand, like an ace-7 offsuit or ace-6 offsuit makes sense. Because I think that with hands like 7-8 suited, or like like king-jack offsuit, I think that he has to make the call.
Yeah, well, you're getting value to see flops, and you don't usually think somebody's 3-betting you with the same sort of hand, which is absolutely what you said. So.
Wow, look at this. So Robert Mitchell making the C-bet, Marty making the raise, and Robert answering with the all-in, with the shove. Big shout out to everybody who's watching us on the live stream here on Twitch. Got a few people to shout out. It looks like we got Real Marcus. We got the Bob Hatter chilling out with us. We got Hold'em Radio Poker. You're part of Hold'em Radio, aren't you,
Yep,
Clint?
part of Hold'em Radio. So Dan's probably checking in on me,
And where can we listen to Hold'em Radio?
Hold'emRadio.com.
Hold'emRadio.com.
Yeah. Pretty easy. We got a bunch of new stuff coming up, new programming, a couple new shows. So if anybody's listening out there, has some podcasts, get a hold of me, see what we can do to get you hooked up on it.
So it looks like Marty made it 175, and now he's thinking about calling. Did you see the flop here, Clint?
I know there's a 10 of diamonds, and I'm trying to actually get the rest of it, the camera angle.
I mean, Marty looking pretty short as it is. I mean, if he just makes a fold, he's going to be looking at less than 300,000. It looks like.
Could you pull the bet, please?
I'm trying to figure out if he's got the odds to call right here. It looks like a 10-3-4.
2 diamonds. Yep.
With 2 diamonds. So this is a pretty rough spot if you're Marty sitting here with like pocket 9s or pocket 8s or even like a 10, where you're thinking that if he has some sort of pocket pair in his hand, and Robert does have the overcards, he's looking at a 2-outer. If he's got a 10 with like some sort of kicker, he's looking at a 5-outer. But then if Robert has the flush draw and is on some sort of semi-bluff, with all the dead money in there, he's supposed to make the call. Even then, he's not going to really be too happy about it. And no one wants to get knocked out in 9th place. I mean, look at the difference between 9th place and one of those top 3 spots. The next person getting out is 6,600.
Right.
6,600.
And almost 60,000 for first. So.
Yeah.
I mean,
a huge difference. I mean, you start you start getting in those top, top 3 or 4 spots, and it's looking like a five-figure score. A first place finish here for Marty would be his biggest score so far in his career. And if you're Robert, I mean, yeah, I mean it's just such a difference here.
Yeah, one of the things that you really got to look at is, what are you playing for? I mean, are you playing for first place, or, when you get into this situation, you just have to play optimal poker. You can't really look at the pay jumps, even though, the money's always good. But, making sure that you're playing optimal poker and don't worry about the money that's involved is
I'll see
really
that later.
the way to play poker.
Yeah.
So they're going to be on a 10-minute break. Robert takes it down without.
You like jacks, right?
No.
No? Better?
No. I had the 5th best hand in the game.
Fifth best hand.
Tens then. Tens then?
5th best starting hand in the game. What is
If he
it?
had tens, you would have got.
I don't really know what he's claiming there.
With the 10 best hand,
Top 5.
I mean,
The 5th best starting hand in the game.
probably tens is what I'm assuming. No,
but the 10 was on
Yeah.
board.
I think I like ace king better than jack.
yeah.
So he's
We didn't
saying.
have the same
Oh, you
hand.
had ace king?
Robert said, "Did you have jacks?" He put him on jacks, and he said, "No, I didn't have jacks." He had the 5th best hand in the game. I don't know what chart he's looking on.
You had 3 outs.
Everybody's chart's different.
It's not that interesting yet.
Nice one.
I thought for sure you called. That's why when I thought you were pot committed. Did you have a diamond? Did you have the ace of diamond though?
No. If I had the diamond, I would have called.
Just the one diamond?
You
ace
don't
diamond?
have to stick around for a couple hours. You can go out and
Give me a bad beat.
Nice hand.
Thanks.
I still got chirp and chip, so I can come back.
Yeah, no idea what he's claiming there. Ace queen, maybe? Is that what he's claiming there?
Yeah.
And Robert's saying that he had 3 outs,
3, 5, 2 diamonds.
which would mean that Robert's claiming that he had
Ace king,
Hey, I can turn this off right on break.
kings or queens, I think.
kings or queens.
Yeah. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, Clint. So the players are on a 10-minute break. I think that you feel like taking a little break here in the booth too, Clint?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and guys, we'll be back. We'll be right back in another 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Let's see who. Let's see which of these players can be the last man standing with their money in the hand. Last man standing. We'll see. Okay, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be right back.
I didn't even know it was going to be on TV. TV we'll never watch.
The last guy was 18 club. I knew you didn't have a club there. I had 2 pair.
Were you watching it for a while?
Yeah.
Like, that guy took forever. Man, it just took
Yeah, I hit my kickers.
I think I come up with that 500. They haven't knocked anybody out.
David the 1 seed's going to move all in. Larry folds. David the 1 seed is all in. Action's going to be back to Duke. In the 4 seed, and Duke's going to make the call. All right, we've got an all in with David in the 1 seed, and Duke makes the call. Dave's going to show pocket queens, queen of spades, queen of clubs. Duke shows ace of clubs, 10 of clubs.
Yeah, he's the one guy's gonna beat you all day. That's how it goes.
What's his on right here?
Oh, it's far from over. Far from over.
I'd close to like 9-7.
118. Dave was all in for 118,000. Duke has made the call. Dave's got pocket queens, and Duke's got ace of clubs, 10 of clubs. All right, let's see the flop.
Just announcing the amount.
All right, flop is 4 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, king of hearts. Dave is still in the lead with pocket queens.
So we've got Dave Stam.
That's okay for you?
All in.
That's acceptable?
And Duke Lee making the call with ace 10 of clubs. And this, that's going to all but seal the deal for Dave Stam.
Here with the pocket queens, Duke is currently in the lead with a pair of aces.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. You have one.
Still got 2 outs.
I think that's how it went down, right? Duke has the ace 10.
To see one of those queens, or he's going to be eliminated in 9th place. Let's see the river card. River card is Jack of hearts. And Dave can leave us in 9th place. Let's give Dave a round of applause here. 9th place.
So with that, we see our first final table casualty. Dave Stam going out in 9th place for $6,606. Getting it all in there with pocket queens, and then getting cracked by a 3-outer.
That was a case ace. I folded 2 of them.
We've got a dead button in the 1 seat here.
Miss?
Like sometimes those kings, the little swing or something. That's such a weird, like she messed up on the flop.
Oh, right.
It's definitely not so. That's definitely the serve.
A little bit of cream. That would be great.
Jessica, did you hear me?
I think he had it over. Wonder why I couldn't hit that ace.
So Dave Stam, a San Francisco CEO, started 2 successful companies, and it was nice having him here at the HPT. It's,
Dana's doing a fine job here with our...
I put you on Queen 5 again.
Wow. Do that again.
It's okay.
Give her a hand just for taking her jacket off in the call.
It sounds like it got a little warmer.
Yeah.
I just had the best hand.
It was likely that you didn't have king since I had ace.
Yeah, I didn't have ace, but I had the best hand almost. 100%. I was a huge favorite. Huge favorite.
You can't be huge favorite. I got outs. I
could have aces. That's what I'm saying. I was a huge favorite.
Whatever. Doesn't matter at this point.
I could have ace king and diamond. 3 roll.
You could. I'll find out eventually.
Yeah. I'll tell you option one.
It's all good. I really don't want to know.
I had you read the
so action stops as Dave Stam is doing the exit interviews. Always a disappointing thing to have to do. You get knocked out. A lot of times it's going to be by a bad beat, and then you have to get up and explain how it feels. So you just walked away with 9th place money. How does that feel? When can we expect to see you again on the Heartland Poker Tour? And I'll tell you, being on both sides of that mic, there's really no good question to ask.
I mean, you put your tournament on the line there with your stuff, so I have to give you credit.
I agree completely. I mean, that's not one of the things that, as you walk away, you're like, oh, I just want to answer a bunch of questions about, how I just busted out and what I feel about this.
Your upcoming event there at the
series, you have to hold the name and show. There's like
Oh, you should be climbing that ladder a couple rungs before there's any difference right in the payout.
Yeah, it's kind of like this, actually.
Yeah.
It gets more interesting if it's fifth.
So cards are back in the air, and it's always kind of an interesting atmosphere. I mean, the table just moves on like nothing happened. You know, the last 2 minutes have been brutal for one person, and everyone else is in their own little world, in their own little choose-your-own-adventure. Life goes on without us.
I mean, the thing is you're actually happy when people go out. You know you're moving up money. And
yeah, for the most part, I think that you're absolutely right, with very few exceptions. I mean, there are going to be some times when you're running away with the chip lead. You've got more than the rest of the table combined. And a lot of times in those kind of spots where you're an overwhelming chip lead, you'd actually prefer players remain so you can keep that psychological inflection point and keep that psychological pressure on all of the stacks. But by the time you get to heads up, you'd prefer it to be, have such an overwhelming chip advantage because everyone was playing 4-second. But this is not one of those cases. This is one of those cases where you're looking around the table and everyone, is 2 hands away from being knocked out, if not just 1 hand.
yeah, I mean, you pretty much have very even stacks. Seat 9, who is in seat 9?
That would be Dave
Brewer. Yeah, Dave Brewer's in seat 9. It looks like he's the short stack when we came back from break. And really, everybody else is, hovering around 20 big blinds minimum now that David Sam was knocked out, other than Brewer, which is sitting on about 15 big blinds. So still plenty of play left all day long here.
So what are the blinds at? Are we at the
8 and 16?
8 and 16 level. So a pretty big jump, really. Going from 6K, 12K to 8K, 16K. Increasing the small blind and big blind by 33%. I do love the Heartland Poker Tour because of its structure. I do feel like it's a very slow structure, but every once in a while you see a pretty big jump, and I don't really know what what would be a smaller jump. I mean, going from maybe a 7-14 level.
Yeah, it's just something that really I've never seen, and those small increments, and especially when you get to this level. But I mean, I do agree. The structure here has been awesome. Otherwise, you wouldn't be playing a final table with 50 big blinds. Average stack. I guess now it's a little bit less than that, but still, I'm sure somewhere around 40 big blind average stack, which is awesome. Plenty of play.
We chatted a lot together and got to know each other, and I know some of them from prior poker tournaments. So it's a great group of people.
If you don't mind pushing lots of bets a little bit
Yeah.
Neil
and I play in a lot of the same San Francisco Bay. And I actually made in the same main event as him, so a couple nights.
We're going to do a little periscoping here, Clint.
Periscope. Oh, there we go.
People at home can see what it looks like back here in the live stream booth.
Hold on.
Are we live?
How does my beard look? That's all that matters.
Oh, it looks good.
Okay.
You look good.
As long as my beard's cool, I'm all good.
We've got our popcorn here, watching the poker show, watching the poker casualties roll in. One of these guys, man. One of these guys. It's their day today. Who is it?
It is.
Who is it, Clint?
Nobody knows at that point. Obviously Duke's he's got the pressure moments, and he's going to be playing a lot of hands and starting to build a stack here. So,
yeah, I mean, Duke is definitely willing to drive the bus off the edge. We've seen him make some questionable calls. Really, the King Jack suited call, was it? He called with King Jack.
Yeah, he called with King Jack, which
somewhat questionable.
That one was.
He makes the call with Ace 10 again, somewhat questionable. And
with
then
for 8 big blinds, though, I'm not sure if that's. I mean, it's right there on the line for me. I think. I'm just right there on the line with 8 big blinds, calling with the suited Ace 10.
I missed the pre-flop action because I was getting my popcorn. How did it go?
I mean, I think if I was understanding Dave Stam, just open shoved.
Open shoved.
Yep, and I think Duke was in the big blind already, or small blind, which,
Okay.
again, for 8 big blinds, it's questionable. I think ace-jack is an instant call there.
So Duke was in the big blind.
Yeah, I think
We're thinking
so,
he was
yeah.
in the big blind, making the call for 8 big blinds with the ace-10 offsuit against a guy who's been
ace-10 suited.
Ace-10 suited.
But still, yeah, against...
Which doesn't really change anything.
No,
you know, an ace-10 offsuit versus an ace-10 suited, it's basically the same hand. You know, it's like a 2% difference in equity.
Yeah.
So what is he hoping that the guy has? He's hoping that he has
King Queen.
King Queen again.
That's the only hand that Dave Stam was open shoving with.
I mean, we might have been able to. Maybe Dave Stam open shoves with like Queen Jack suited there sometimes. Maybe he shoves. Like, maybe he looks down at Ace 8 suited in the cutoff and thinks, okay, well, this is the spot. So I think that sometimes Ace-10 suited can be expected to be in a dominating position.
Wow.
But for the most part, you're going to be on the wrong end of a coin flip or in a dominating position yourself. So I kind of feel like, you know, we've seen Duke make a lot of those, dare I say, reckless calls.
Yeah, it was definitely a borderline call. I'm not trying to argue with you about, you know, making the call or not making the call, but I definitely see as an aggressive person.
But this is what I would point out, Quinn. We've seen him make these kind of calls where it's like, okay, it's a borderline call. We can say it's a borderline call in a vacuum if you don't know anything about your opponent. But as we just saw, he took Ace-10 against Queens, and he's taking King Jack against King Queen. So the reads he's making are turning out to actually be wrong. You know, which he's playing a very reckless game, but it's actually like he's playing in a way that he could end up getting all the chips. He's not afraid to go broke, which is always, you know, is always an advantage. And when you make those kind of calls, you're also sending out a clear signal to everybody that if you raise my big blind, you can expect to go ahead and you can expect to go ahead and see a flop.
Yeah, I mean.
So I think of the two, the two players here, which I think are most likely to get a walk in the blind, would have to be Neil and Duke.
Yeah, and the thing is like you said, you know, Duke's not afraid to play hands. He's gonna, you know, he wants to see hands, but he can also have the 3rd biggest stack right now and end up finishing 8th in this point.
Over to Larry in the 2 seat, Larry folds. 7 folds, actions over to Duke on the button. 38,000 is the total bet. Action fold around to the big blind.
Hey, George.
Down the back.
That's okay. Our arms are all short.
Still 2,000 Andy. 8,000, 16,000 on the button. Down our final 8 players.
Neil sporting that, is that an Apple Watch? Does it look like an Apple Watch to you?
It does look like an Apple Watch. I want one.
It's going to be one of those watches that you're going to be able to pass on to your grandkids. This is an original Apple Watch. Would you rather have a Rolex or an Apple Watch 60 years from now?
I'm going to go with the old-fashioned Rolex.
I think I'm going to have to go with the old-fashioned Rolex too. I think that Apple Watch is going to be just like the old iPhone 3Gs.
I mean, but who didn't want to be Inspector Gadget when they were young? You know?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, come on.
I wanted to be able to make calls with my watch. I wanted to be able to take videos, and I knew if I could just take video with my watch, it was going to open up all sorts of possibilities. And that didn't change when I became a poker player. I really would love to be able to take videos of the opponents. Neil taking videos of the 2 seat.
I mean, you just sit here like, you know, with your arms spread wide open with both watches on, and people are like, "What are you doing?" And you're recording everything that's going on. It'd be awesome.
And Duke using that aggro suicidal image and taking down the big blinds here without having to fade those 3 cards.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to continue to open a large portion of hands when he sees that he can take it down, and really, you know, one of the good things with playing this kind of style is that you are going to take a lot of blinds and antes, and and they're getting higher and higher, and you're really not going to get a whole lot of opposition unless somebody does have a hand.
8,000, 16,000 on the blind. David, the 9 seat's going to be first ad.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think.
Larry in the 2 seat.
Oh, we gotta suck in. Taking some photos. A little photo shoot.
Larry's going to fold actions to Kevin in the 3 seat.
You sure love to play with me.
No, I only seem to have a hand when.
Oh, don't crack.
Can't blame him.
Yeah, exactly. He's beating me every hand we play.
Don't do it. No, no. Oh,
I got heckled every time.
he got goaded. He got goaded into cracking. It's turning a different color,
Okay, if I'm gonna
shuffling
lose
his
chips here,
cards.
I'm gonna heckle you.
And that's pretty much exactly what you're trying to do. If you're in Neil's spot, Neil hasn't even looked at his whole cards yet, most likely.
Yep.
Guy starts to raise. As he's in the middle of raising, he puts off a little, oh, you're always after my big blind, and completely gets the guy to crack. If there was information that he's leaking, he just leaked it.
Yeah. And he even said, you know, he was like, well, I always tend to have a hand with you.
Yeah, look at this. Neil is not worried about leaking information because he hasn't even looked at his whole cards. Neil in the is in the 8 seat.
Yeah, Neil's going to make the call. 32,000 and a call.
And it looks like there's a 3-way flop here.
To the flop here. Let's see the flop. Flop is Queen of Diamonds, 8 of Clubs, 8 of Diamonds. Neil's going to be first at. Neil checks. Over to Kevin in the 3 seat.
That's George Kleinman,
And,
who made the call. Kevin going for the C bet here. Kevin Weinman.
Actions to George in the 6 seat.
The architect, seeing if he can't build a chip stack.
yeah, and that's a pretty standard spot to see bet there.
I missed the flop. Did you see what it was?
Yeah, it's a queen 8-8 2 diamonds.
Queen 8-8, so pretty polarizing.
Yeah.
And going to be pretty hard for either one of these players to continue without a queen.
It looks like he bet
I'm not cheering- I'm not
35,000 on
cheering
the
for
flop
Kevin
and
right now.
took it down there.
Is he going to show? He's going to show showing an 8. Wow. I kind of feel like if there's, I'm not really a big proponent of slow playing, but if there's a time to slow play, that might have been it.
Well, yeah,
might have been it.
he's definitely one that doesn't like the 2
Okay.
diamonds on the flop,
You're
so he doesn't
raising
want
my
to see
big
another
blind
diamond.
with
But
King 8.
I feel like that's an example,
Are
though,
they
Clint, of
suited?
being afraid of the monster under the bed. And there's going to be a lot more non-flush draws than flush draws there.
Absolutely.
And with a hand like an 8 against 2 opponents, maybe go ahead and let one of them catch up, or maybe give one of them a chance to make the mistake of bluffing into your trips. I'm not really a big fan of slow playing, and if he's up against if George or Neil does have a queen, then the only way he's going to be able to win a really big pot is to build a big pot right from the flop. But I
It's
think
only my small
so
blind, it's
often
cool.
it's a very polarizing board. Maybe it would be okay to go ahead and give a free card in that spot.
yeah, absolutely. Plus, the thing is like, how many 8s does he have in his range there? I mean, he was the one who opened that pot.
So he's basically turning over his hand and saying we've got 8-7, 8-9 suited,
10-8.
maybe 10-8 suited,
Yeah, exactly.
or Ace-8, right?
Well, I don't even think it's Ace-8. I would actually probably take that one out of the equation there.
I think that you're probably right, and this is another thing that I would mention, Clint, is I think it's a really big mistake at this stage of the tournament to be showing hands.
Yeah,
I think that he leaked enough information pre-flop that he's giving his opponents, all of these guys have been playing really good to get there, including Kevin. I don't want to take anything away from his game here, but I do think that it shows a certain level of disregard for your opponent's pre-flop reading skills when you give them that free information and say, look what I had. I entered this pot. I opened as a pre-flop raiser with an 8 in my hand. When he made that raise and Neil goads him into basically getting giving off the nervous giggle and changing colors. It's going to be so much easier to put him on a hand in the future. Right. There's going to be a difference between the way that he raises and reacts with an 8-9 suited versus pocket queens or pocket kings.
Yeah, and I agree. At this stage, I mean, I'm one of those guys that, in certain situations I will show to loosen up the table against me, or if I have been playing reckless, I'll show, strong hands just to kind of taper down or, get more action or less action, just depending on what's going on and how I've been playing. But at this stage in the game where everybody, kind of has played together for a little while now, we've been sitting here playing for about an hour. We're on a TV final table where people are going to be able to see the whole cards later, and you may run into them in a different situation in a different tournament. I'm not showing anything. I'm not giving them any more ammunition to work against me at this point.
I completely agree with you. I think that I think it's a mistake to show. I think almost across the board, all the time, it's a mistake to show. Even the only exceptions I can really think of are like what you're saying in cash game situations, where you expect to be able to. Even then, it's really a stretch. There's going to be certain times though when, it's almost like straddling. If you're at a cash game, at a cash game table, I feel like straddling is one of the most negative EV plays you can ever make at a cash game. It's horrible.
Yeah, I agree. I don't do it often. The only time
I'll do it though is when you get other people to do it more.
Right.
So maybe that's when it's okay to show, is when you're showing, you can get the whole table to be showing and playing friendly and loosening up. But I think that it's mainly a cash game play. I haven't seen anybody else turn over a hand at this final table. Have you?
No, and I don't expect to.
So if you're going to be showing whole cards, you don't want to be the only guy doing it.
I mean,
no Duke fans out there.
Me, I would probably be one of the guys talking at the table, like, okay, if I show a card, everybody's got to show a card for a round or something like that. I'm a fun person to sit at the table with, and if that happens, then I'm okay with doing it just because, whatever. But I'll gain more information off of what they show me than what I'm going to show them.
Yep.
So if I can use it to my advantage later, sure, I'll show a card. But like you said, if no one else is showing, definitely not. But I would try to talk everybody into it, into showing a card at some point, or even playing the Duke 7 game or something on the tournament.
Might be around 4.
Okay.
You're busy. You're busy.
Rob's first act, 2 folds. Action fold around to Marty in the 7th seat.
And that's a first. We see Neil actually looking at his whole cards before his turn.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting because he hasn't even capped him. Usually if he's going to do that, he'll cap him, and you can see what his thought process. He knew immediately he was folding.
There's a little bit of a whole card snap against the felt too when he looked.
Larry folds, actually to Kevin in the small blind.
Click off.
Kevin makes the call. 45,000 is a total.
And this is another thing I don't really love, is when people verbalize their action when they don't need to. You don't need to announce "I call."
Right.
You're giving off so much information, without verbalizing. You start verbalizing "I call," all of a sudden there's a whole new universe of things that you could be leaking, information you could be leaking, voice inflection, and the way that you say it. I think you're so much better off just letting your chips do the talking.
Flop is 9 of clubs, Jack of diamonds, 6 of hearts. Kevin's first act. He checks over to Duke. Duke checks as well. Actions to Marty in the 7th seat.
I'm all in.
Marty announces all in. Marty is all in.
I've already started typing the hand replay. I knew something big was happening.
Yeah. It looks like
Duke
asking for the call. It's a pretty wet board, and we've seen Duke make some some pretty gamely calls. I think that he could probably convince himself to make the call here.
What is it? 9?
It's a Jack 9-6 rainbow. So I mean, it hits a lot of Duke's range, and for Duke not to immediately make the fold, it makes me think that we might be seeing a call.
233,000 is what Marty is all in for.
Or maybe we're just seeing Duke make his man sweat for a while.
Man sweat, huh?
Just let him think about what it's going to be like going out 8th before you fold your 5-3 off suit.
233.
233 is what Marty's all in for.
So I think that means he's getting about 3-2 to make the call.
I mean, obviously Duke has a wide range here. He could have, you know, any cards. If he has Queen 10 or even like 10-8, you know, do you make the call here?
I gotta say, I feel like this is one of those situations where Duke should have been thinking about his plan when he made the check on the flop. You know, when you make the check, and he makes the call.
It's gotta have a draw.
Duke shows 8 of spades, 7 of spades.
Oh, wow.
For an open-ended straight draw.
Open-ended straight draw.
All right, Marty,
Yeah.
in the lead here with
I'm not sure what I think about this move by Duke. I kind of feel like he was in kind of a spot where, I mean, making the call here seems right. But I think that if you're Duke, you need to have a plan when you check the flop. And I don't think he did. You know, I don't think they had a check raise wasn't going to work, because if his guy actually bets the flop, then he's going to be pot committing himself.
Let's see the river card.
So I almost think that, you know, I'm not really a big fan of the donk lead, but this might have been a good opportunity, you know, a good spot for Duke to make that donk lead.
Marty found his
so he doesn't have to be put in a spot where he's not sure if he should make the call or not.
How much is he paying you guys?
233 is what he was all in for. He's going to double up.
And he doesn't have to worry about inducing an all-in shove from a hand where he's not going to really enjoy calling. You know, like an ace 10, for example, could make the shove there, or like pocket eights could make the shove there, where he's not really going to want to make the call with his open-ended straight draw. So I don't know. I feel like this is just kind of an example of Duke not really having a very solid plan for what to do if he checks and Marty shoves all in, which really should have been on his radar given the stack size.
If
I think this is probably just an example
of
Duke.
Then I'm 1 out of 10.
Not really being, not really, being aware of the stack sizes in play.
Yeah, I mean, I actually prefer the donk lead here, especially if you have a notion that you're going to make a call if he shoves, and you have to be thinking about that. Then I would definitely donk lead and give him an option to make the fold there.
Yeah.
You know, and that way it kind of takes away what you're going to do. You know, okay, do I want to call 233,000? If you lead for 80 or 100 there into
then you
that
don't have
pot,
to think about it.
Then you don't.
You got a plan.
Exactly.
You know, rather than making the check and then being in this kind of weird spot where you figure that you're getting about 2 to 1, but you're only, the pot's only laying you 3 to 2.
Yeah, I mean, it just with a semi bluff there. I think I'm leading out there and making a call if I have to.
Thanks for the support, man. That's cool. I love that Hawaiian shirt. Yeah, cool.
And Larry's going to make the call. Thanks. 33,000 and a call, actually. Over to Duke in the small blind.
Looks like Larry made a call.
Over to Rob in the 5-seat. 33,000 is their full bet.
I like the way Robert Mitchell's been playing this final table. I think he's been playing, as if he is in control. And I think that he's going to. Tell you the truth, Clint, if I was going to pick a player here to win, I'd pick Robert.
I mean, Robert's playing very solid.
It's hard not to pick Neil, given the fact that he made the final table, the main event. But Robert's been in the game a long time. He is a pro, and I could tell that just from watching him at the table, how he plays and how he's looking around the table. But
his demeanor, his thought processing so far, just everything that he's doing, even to the way that he lays out the chips on the table. I mean, you can tell that he's been in the spot before.
And I'm going to tell you something too, Clint. I don't think there's really that much difference between finishing in the top 6 tables at the World Series of Poker main event and the top table of the main event. At this point, with 6,000 something runners, being able to make it into the top, 0.5% of players, it's almost the same thing.
It's winning a couple flips down the stretch, and catching a few cards that you need to. I mean, and that's, you know, that, like you said, that's the difference between 52nd, which is an amazing run in the main event.
It's an amazing run, and even though I love the way Neil's playing, I really do. I love the fact that he's, you know, working on not leaking any information, actually getting information from his opponents by, you know, sparking up conversation right while they're raising. I mean, I love that. I love that, you know, those kind of moves from Neil. But, you know, at the end of the day, Neil is not a professional poker player. You know, Robert is. Robert is doing this for a living.
Yep.
You know, so I think that if I was going to pick one player to win, I think I would pick Robert.
Yeah, and the thing is like we've even pointed it out a couple of times already. You know, Neil's working on not giving any information away and, you know, and just doing the same motions. But there's a few times that we've seen already on this live stream that, you know, he puts, you know, the way that he puts his caps his cards, the way that he sits there, you know, talking at the timing. So there's a few things that he still has to work on before he sits there and plays for, you know, $7.8 million.
So who's your pick?
I mean,
we can take favorites here. We can make picks here.
Like you said, I love the way that that Mitchell's playing, that Robert's playing, but I mean at this point, I feel like
55,000 is the bet by George. 55,000.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Neil's playing really well. Like you said, the Duke's kind of like a kamikaze style, so he's going to either go out, you know, 7th or worse, or be in the top 2 or top 3. But I'm gonna stick with Neil and say that Neil, Robert, and Larry are going to be the last 3.
We're going to put a beer on it, Clint?
All right, I'm in. Deal.
Bet. We got it. We're booking it. I'll tell you who else I really like at this final table. And again, I really like the way Neil's playing.
Right.
I don't think that there's a chance that Neil is not going to get in one of these top 3 spots. We'll find out, though, how he can adjust his game going from a full table down to 3, because there's a significant difference. I would say that one player that I really like here is Marty. I think that Marty's been playing really well. He's moving his chips well.
Yeah, yeah, and there's nothing, you know, Marty's playing well. He's made a couple of, you know, pretty tight folds that he's not going to be able to do when it gets short-handed, you know, and still be able to last. I'm saying Larry is going to make top 3 for the simple fact he's got a ton of chips at the moment, and
he's not leaking them.
Yeah, you're not getting them from him. So
he is not bleeding chips at the moment, and he can afford to take a couple of bad beats.
Right, but the problem with playing that style is when you get 5-handed, 4-handed, you know, you're going to start bleeding chips from blinds and antes unless you open up your range a ton.
He's going to be able to afford a lot of big blinds, though. I mean, he's got a lot of chips in front of him.
I think last count he was sitting almost at 900,000. So.
Which is, he is the chip lead.
Okay,
Right?
just give me next time. I'm ready.
I like it.
I'm bored.
And I don't think that we've seen him turn over a single hand here at the final table.
I think I've watched him for 4 days, and I think I've seen him turn over like 4
Yeah,
hands.
that's cool.
So
I'll do that right now.
He's not showing too many. He's, you know, and a lot of people aren't calling him down because they know that he's been playing solid.
Well, we think that he's been playing solid. We don't know. We don't know what he's having. I mean, if you don't have to show a hand, what difference is there between raising with kings and raising with 7-3?
Yeah, he hasn't put the glasses down in a few hands. So.
But what we can do is we can extrapolate his range based on his VPIP, you know, his pre-flop percentages, and the fact that he's really not too active pre-flop would lead us to believe that he's just not playing a lot of hands.
Yeah.
That his range is top 5, top 6% of his hands. His VPIP is probably, you know, is probably lower than 15% at this point.
And you know, the thing is like, you have to make that assumption that he's playing tight because of the percentages that he's been playing pre-flop and raising pre-flop.
So does the mini raise mean that you want me to call or you don't want me to call?
100% sure? No, but
look at that. Look at Neil.
You tell me. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Oh wow.
No.
Look at this. He gets.
I wouldn't lie to you.
I wasn't very strong, George.
Wow, so he just
I wasn't calling no matter what you told me to do. I was going to give you a 50-50 chance of determining my action by just saying the right thing, say fold.
So that was a fun little interaction. Neil's sitting here in the big blind. George makes a min raise.
Yay!
And Neil pipes in with, what do you want me to do? I'll do whatever you tell me to do. George says, please call.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn Larry into a George
immediately
down before we're done
folds.
Yeah, I don't. Again, when Neil starts talking like that, I think there was 0% chance he was actually making a call there, and that's what he said.
I think you're right. And I think that he's just trying to get reads from his opponents, and just kind of liven it up a little bit, loosen up the mood of the table. But he's not the one leaking information.
No, and it's definitely been a very snug. There's not a lot of, fun play, banter back and forth, which, several times, during this event, there were tables where, there was nothing but having fun, talking, enjoying yourself, cutting up with the other players. And so, and I think it's just a little bit of nerves getting to a few people. Maybe not nerves, but they just don't want to make big mistakes in a big spot where people are watching.
Well, you're never really comfortable at a final table. You add in the cameras, and it adds a whole new dimension. You know that the people you care most about are going to be watching you, and it does tend to tighten you up.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is if you make a mistake with nobody watching, you're like, oh well, I just made a mistake, but I can live with it. But if you make a huge mistake and a bunch of people are watching you, now you're like, oh wait, why did I do that? It's a really wet board, and Larry's continuing to fire here, and Marty's got to have a pretty big hand too.
Still up here. Let's see the river card. River card is a 6
That's.
Larry's going to be first back. Checks over to Marty.
If Marty bets here, I think Larry folds.
105. 105,000 is the announced amount.
I don't know. This is the power of position right here. I mean, Marty can make a lot of value bets here that he wouldn't be able to lead out if he didn't have position. I mean, he could have a 10 here, but he doesn't have to have a 10. He could have, some sort of two-pair hand.
Absolutely.
Who would have thought the 7-8
and go ahead and try to go get some value.
Or did you pair the 6 on the river?
I forget what I had. No, you didn't.
I forgot what I had.
Yeah. I don't think anybody forgets what they had there. No, the position bet there is awesome because it's so hard to call with anything other than a 10 in that spot.